Well, it's that time of year. The apple orchards are open around here. The local one I go to is Ten Eyck by Broadhead, Wisconsin. Oh, their apple cider and their apple donuts are unbelievably good, but they have a ton of varieties of apples. But this is what I always look for, the baker's mix. That means these are apples they picked up from different spots. They're all different kind of apples. You have no idea what all you have in here. And I bought this one year by mistake, and it was the best apple products ever because you're mixing and matching all these different varieties. So this is what I'm going to be working from, Baker's Mix, and at Ten Eyck it's $25 for a bushel. Quite the deal. Well, I'm really excited to show you my new perfected apple pie recipe. For 52 years I've been trying to get this right, and we love this recipe. So let's go. So I do have 7 apples. Now this is going to be to put on the apples, a coating on the apples. A cup of sugar, 2 tablespoons of flour, a tablespoon of cornstarch, and 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. Now for the crust, I'm going to use my mom's crust recipe. I have a separate video on that, and I'm doubling it. So in here I have 4 cups of flour. I will have a half a cup of oil and a half a cup of milk. Actually, a little more than a half of a cup of milk. I found that that works best. Then I have an egg to kind of wash the pies when I'm done so they get that nice brown crispy. And I have some extra sugar to put on top of those pies. Now, I've always made hand pies before, but I thought I'm going to try this different because I want more fruit in these. In the hand pies, there's not much fruit. So I have a whole bunch of these. Little containers I've picked up over the years, and I use these. This batch makes 8 pies if I do my pastry just right. So let's get started. The first thing, I'm going to combine the seasoning, the stuff I'm going to put on the apples. So here goes my sugar, flour, cornstarch, and cinnamon. Now when I cut up my apples, because I'm putting them in littler pies, I'm going to cut them up into little chunks, not slices like I would for a regular big pie. I'll show you when I get there. So then this is really ready to put on the apples. I don't need this till later, or this, so I'm removing these. Now I'm going to attack the apples. I have a little more than half of my apples cut up, but I want you to see, I cut them into little pieces. Because when you put them in those little pie tins, the slices just don't work well. So I just dice them up a bit. I'm going to put my sugar mixture in here and cut up the rest of my apples. But first, I want to tell you something. I have arthritis in my right hand and some in my left. And when you do that, you don't stop doing what you want to do. You just make adjustments. Well, I have a local distributor of Rada instruments. And this is a knife that I used a lot. But it was too big for my hand. This is a paring knife, too small, I can't close my hand anymore. So I stopped at the store and I found this one just right. See how big that handle is? Love it. They also have peelers. I love this peeler, Rada. Look them up, they probably sell them on Amazon, I don't know. But Rada knives. Here are my apples already. As they sit, and they're already doing it, they'll make a nice little syrup at the bottom. But remember, if you're going to make hand pies or little pies, cut them up thinner. If you're going to make a regular apple pie, you can slice them. I always slice them thin so they all get some of the syrup and the sugar here. Now we're going to roll these out. Okay, so I couldn't believe it. Old dogs can learn new tricks. I've started rolling out my hand pies on a pastry mat, putting a little flour down. I made my dough, which is my mom's recipe. So I'm just going to roll it out. The goal is I want to put it in this pie. You might have to dust your rolling pin and this a little bit more, but that's okay. Everything's in my way. See, that's rolling out nicely. But I want it big enough to go on the bottom. So then I've started using my little tool I've had forever. Pick it up, put it on there. All right. If you have gaps like that, you can always fix it by putting some in there, which I'm going to do. We don't want to cheat Martin out of any of his crust. There's one. I usually do about 4 at a time. I'm still not quite that confident about the amount of dough I need, but last time it worked out perfect. I really like the wax paper method too. But I thought I'm going to give this a try, and sure enough I like it. Kind of lift that off. I'm going to finish a couple more. I'm now filling my little pie tins. Now, I had a friend who was saying if you're going to make a BLT, for crying out loud, put bacon in it. Well, I agree with fruit. If you're going to make a fruit pie, put fruit in it. So I like these to be pretty full. See how nice the cut up chunks are in there? It's going to make a much better pie. Martin said these are going to equal 2 of the hand pies. Now you do get a bit of a syrup in the bottom, and I use that as I'm filling the pies. So I do use that up. Now I'm going to put their hat on. I just noticed this thing has measurements on it. These are 5 inches. I could be using this as my guide. There's more old tricks for an old dog, I guess. I do that. I pick it up, fit it on top. And if you have to patch in holes, believe me, these are so good, no one will dare say anything. There. I'll show you how you finish them off in a second. Here are my pies, all set for the oven. Now you can also use store-bought pastry too, and if you're nervous about will you have enough dough, just divide it up before you start. You'd need 8 bottoms and 8 tops, which are a little less dough. So to get that nice beautiful color on them, I'm putting on egg and egg wash. Just a little bit. I'm going to top them with a little sugar, and then I'm going to do what I forgot to do. Do this before you start this process. I guess it doesn't matter. There we go. All right. Carry on, Vonnie. You know, these little 5-inch tins, they really are big pies. They're too much for one sitting. Even Martin eats them a half at a time. Now I'm going to put these in the oven for about 40 minutes. I find that it usually takes at least 40 minutes at 350. You want to do this, it lets steam escape, and you could have eruptions if you don't. You can use a knife and slit them. I usually just grab what's right there, and that's what was right there. There. A little more. Now these are going in the oven for 40 minutes at 350. Get ready to see some magic. I hope that you can see this. It is just beautiful. A nice golden brown, a little bubble over even. That's wonderful. This is not quite cooled off, but let me cut it so you can see what the inside looks like. Look at that. Lots of apples. I cut them little, so there's lots of apples. Ooh, I might have to take a little corner off this one. Vonnie's Perfected Apple Pies. It only took me 52 years, but here you go. Give this one a try. It's really good. And remember, cut those apples little. Until next time, bye-bye.